Fantastic. Whatever universe that ad, like game universe that ad is set in, I want to play that.
I don't want any fingers in my ears is the only thing I can think of when I'm watching that ad, man.
But can't you feel the fingers go in? It's like a Q-tip. Oh, I don't know if I love it or hate it. I feel something, and isn't that the important thing about a brand? All right, congratulations there to Legacy. Rusty, Legacy, not necessarily playing at their peak performance, but certainly back on track, you would say, since last week?
Yeah, definitely in the right direction. They basically just really, really slowed the game down to a pace where they could only be comfortable in, and a lot of the onus was then on the other team to try and be proactive and make plays. And it hit a point for maybe like a 10 to 15 minute period where both carries of AV were sitting in mid lane sharing farm, where Legacy were just flowing up and down, bot lane, top lane, just slowly getting further ahead to a point where it was just over. And AV kind of let it get to that point. So that's why I would say it's good from Legacy. They played well, but definitely a game that was the onus was on their opponents to make something happen. They didn't.
Absolutely. Well done, Legacy. It's glad to see you back. Also back, EPOS, they want to give you some headsets. You saw the headset there. I believe the headset that we will give you will not include two enormously fat fingers to insert themselves into your noggin, but I can't guarantee that. You can get your hands on a GSP 600 gaming headset. All you need to do is reply to our tweet at OPL on Twitter. Reply to the tweet we have on our page about your most out-of-the-world gaming experience. What gaming experience was the greatest in your lifetime, a moment, a memory, something cherished for you, the most epic thing you've done in a video game. Let us know. We're going to announce the winners live on the OPL as we run through some of the stories. And the two best stories are going to win themselves a GSP 600 headset. It's that easy to get two massive fingers in your ear. No fingers, but a lot of money. NeoSurf want to give that to you instead. They are going to give $500 away to one lucky winner and $100 to 5 runners-up. All you need to do is film a video of you joining our opening titles, become a part of the OPL, send that video via DM to @OPL, and follow @NeoSurf Esports on Twitter @NeoSurf Esports. You can get involved in the opening titles, get yourself $100 or $500 worth of NeoSurf voucher credit for use in the League of Legends store. Thank you very much to EPOS and NeoSurf. Legends as always. Spawn, you suddenly sat up. You were activated. What happened?
Do you want to know the honest truth?
Yes.
I was like, wow, I really could go to bed. And then I was like, wow, you have 3 hours of show left, my friend. Sit up and shut up.
I'll tell you what. Sleeping streams are catching on.
Are
I
they?
reckon, yeah, they are. And I reckon we could totally do one.
My
Who
camera
would
also
not-
went blurry, so I'm going to have to fix it. Just give me...
Who would not want to watch Rusty sleep? Tell me in chat. And anyone who says no, you're a liar. All right, let's move on because we've got a second half of a competition to get through. This is League Champion Knockout.
The sun's out, the crowd's ready. Let's reckon!
It ends here.
You have not earned victory this day.
Loki Cat AU says, if my NeoSurf video replaced one of the casters, I'd want my video to involve hiding the caster in a cupboard. All right. Well, if you need help making a video, I can jump in a cupboard for you. All right. We got through half of Ionia. Let's round it out. This should be faster because Skimmy isn't here. Karma versus Ivan.
He's a friend of the forest.
He's a tree. Like, come on.
He loves the way the grass feels fluffy between his toes. What more could you want? Karma's fine, but she's no Ivern.
I actually just hate both of these champions, so I abstain from the vote.
All right. Well, I'll take Ivan because he's also a bit of an OPL meme. It brings back memory of Bryce. We like that. We like Bryce enough to at least not let him be beaten by Karma. But Ivan's certainly not going the whole way. I'll tell you that much. But 75% of the vote from the chat, Ivan, the clear winner. All right.
Yeah.
Kennen versus Lee Sin.
Ooh, these are once again... I actually really like Ionian champions.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of... And I feel like there's a lot of iconic champions as well from Ionia.
Well, Lee Sin is my favorite champion ever. I watched a video, I'm going to say it was like in Season 1, where Hotshot, Nidalee GG, kicked my brother in the ass. My brother was the Lee Sin. And ever since then, he's been my most played champion. So I'm going with Lee Sin.
I feel like you'd be like, it's hard not to vote for Lee Sin. First of all, Kennan's a great champion. I enjoy Kennan. He was in Season 1, actually one of the champs that I played when I played competitively. But Lee Sin just has it all, man. He's the highest mastery champion as well, so I'm on board with Lee Sin.
Tell you, you said it's hard to. Did you say it's hard to vote for Kennan?
Hard not to vote for Lee Sin.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Hard not to vote for Lee Sin. I'll tell you who's finding it hard. Chat, only 35%.
Oh, that's just
Lee
so
Sin
wrong.
Faithful. We got 66% want Kennan to win.
Who wants
Unfortunately,
a
chat.
Swamp Rat to win?
Who wants a Swamp Rat to win? Even if he does have little lightning shooting out of him. I'll tell you what, chat. You don't get this one, because if you really cared this much to win, you would have worked the hard yards to become a host or caster on the OPL. So you didn't, so you don't get it. So this one's going to Lee Sin. Congratulations. I mean, speaking of Ionia, my god. Speaking of iconic league champions, like the champions you think of when you don't even know what the game is. Up next, Master Yi versus
Whoever's the other one.
Yeah, Shen is way cooler.
Just not
I hate
Master Yi. Just never Master Yi. And if there's a Tarek in here as well at some stage, just not Tarek.
Yeah.
Just neither of them. Get him out of here.
I dodge if I have a Yi on my team and if I'm against a Yi.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
100%. Because, like, you know they're going to play funnel or they're going to int. And I don't want to play a game where I have to play with a funnel and I have to wait 15 minutes for them to carry. And I don't want to play a game where they're inting either. And I don't want to play against an inter or a funnel either.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, like, just to give some clarity, I like Tarek, but it's the same reason. It's gameplay. If you see a Tarek, you know something's up and it's fishy and you don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, and the thing is that while Shen is the worst ninja ever, that's all I got.
Well, chat says, Mercury O says, Yi can literally wipe out entire armies in seconds in his lore. But then Asher1212 says Shen literally blocks auto, wins by default.
Yes, Shen is like actually one of those annoying Trump. Like, he's the fog that turns people into cheese card.
Oh, and yeah, I get the reference. I get the reference. All right, congratulations, Shen, and 82% of the chat backing Shen. Master Yi, get out of here. Why were you even made? It's time to get rid of that. All right, up next, Syndra versus Varus. Who are we picking? The best of the purples.
Okay, do you like attractive purple girl or attractive purple boy?
That's a good question. Why not both?
Yeah, correct. You don't have to actually only choose one.
It's a tough one. I was going to say, I'm a mid laner, so I'm preferential to Syndra, but Varus also goes mid lane.
Yeah, you played a lot of Varus mid when we duoed together, to be honest.
He's just
I was going to say who has the best hair, but they both have basically the same hair.
Yeah, they're actually just male-female of each other.
Yeah.
Like,
Are we only
Varus
just realizing this?
Varus has got the broad shoulder, Syndra's got the broad hips. Like, they're half of each other's bodies. Whoever built these characters has terrible proportions. That's all I'm saying.
The waist on Varus he's like a Bond's, like, chest bust thing. It's
he's
ridiculous.
me. He's actually never done a day of legs in his life.
Okay, well, we're going to have to go to the chat for this one then. And they're going Syndra at 57% of the vote. So there you go. Congratulations. All right, we got one more to go. One more. We can get it in here before we get into the game. Okay, Zed versus Wukong. Go.
Zed. I don't have a reason.
I love Wukong. I love the fact that his pole extends and he rides around on Nimbus like Goku.
All right, okay, Zed, because there's a Wukong in everything. There's not a Zed in everything.
Monkey King is actually in everything.
Yeah, well, you're treading a very fine line there, Jay. I was going to say Wukong because he's cool and he looks different than just like dude in armor. But then, Rusty, you make a good point. There's a monkey in everything. Oh, Zed, 75% of the vote from the chat. 61% now. Okay, cool. Well, let's get out of here before it goes to 50-50. Hung on this again. Congratulations, Zed. That is the Ionia League champion knockout. Done. We are making our way towards the greatest League of Legends champion of all time, as chosen by the OPL, the greatest region of all time. And it's time to move on to one of the greatest OPL teams of all time. It is the Chiefs versus, I would say, another one of the greatest teams of all time. It's Direwolves. Chiefs versus Direwolves. Who are we picking for this one? Rusty.
Oh, I'm going to go Direwolves.
Oh, I am as well.
Noise.
Oh.
The rebrand has just brought me in on the Direwolves. I'm a big fan of their rebrand, and I think they're going to have some great content because they're now working with Will, who is someone that I've worked with in the past. So I'm on the Wolf Pack hype train.
All right, I'm going to be contrarian and just go for Chiefs. Will, you get your time to shine with the victory video, but it won't be until tomorrow. Let's jump into game number 3 for the evening. It is Chiefs versus Direwolves, and it is coming up with the Macca's Champ Select.
They're not.
Really good Crocs, really good jungler, so hopefully I don't verse just 1v1, but in mid jungle 2v2, Claire, always inting me on solo queue, so hopefully he can play on same as on stage.
So last time I versed Chiefs, I had to verse Crocs Rek'Sai top in lane. It was quite tough, he was just there the whole time. And I'd say, he outperformed me pretty hard in the top matchup, GP versus Rek'Sai. So next time I verse Croc, I hope the matchup goes a bit better.
I think Castle Kalista is pretty good. I hope Castle pick Kalista.
Chiefs as a whole haven't been looking too good lately. It looks like they're on the down and down. They've been struggling in a lot of their games. I think Draku is right, I guess.
Claire, I think, has been the best performer on Chiefs so far, but recently kind of got exploited for his, at least recently, shallow champion pool. So I think that's something we can punish him for again.
And welcome back for the third game of the night. The Chiefs looking to bounce back from a weekend that they'll be sure to want to forget, up against a reworked Direwolves, I want to call it. Brand new logo, but still really impressive form. And this is a big game for them to continue their chance at going tied with Order. That would put them at an even score with Order at second spot. But if Chiefs can win this game, then they tie the Direwolves in third.
Yeah, very important game, actually, for both of these teams, right? Not just for placements, but form checking for Chiefs is going to be another big factor that we have to look at. Not the best week last week themselves. Legacy, a lot of the top of the table struggled, and that Order and Direwolves just kind of kept creeping on up there. So very big week for both respective teams and all of the top 4, if I'm being honest with you. And we do get to find out, Skimmy, if the Direwolves remake, as you called it, is similar to the Rise, in that no matter what you change, they always end up being broken and the exact same. We'll see.
It's interesting because I think what Shock brought up there in the video was actually quite important because they've banned away the Orianna, they've taken the Syndra. Those have been the 2 most played here by Claire. 4 games on both. So looking to put him on to something a little bit different, and he has been the one that has been driving in terms of form. I mentioned Chaz in the game prior with his stats. For the most part, it was all otherwise led here by Claire. He's in the form of his life right now. And that's what they're going to be looking to try and bank on because, their bot lane hasn't been as strong as it has been at past. I feel like they're really missing the likes of Korea CK. No takeaway from Draco, obviously still looking to try and work his way into that role. But no doubt, both Vital and Decoy will be looking to exploit that.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where you would say the best time to beat the Chiefs was in the first 6 weeks when Draku was coming into this new role. But he's been able to play top lane champions in there and Yuumi with relative success all the time. A lot of the champions, even though he won some with the Karma that he was getting exploited on, was that pick. And that's where things like, an Ashe and a Thresh you can put together in bottom lane, be very punishing as a 2v2. That was being wildly successful for the opponents of the Chiefs. We've got a Senna this time around, and I will say that last time we saw this, Katsuri was often the one just playing farm Senna, which is entirely possible. But it also does mean that Draku, once again, maybe gets to hide any kind of, weaknesses or new steps, learnings that he'll have in the support role because he can play a tank champion.
Yep, we won't get the Karma Center this time around because it has been banned away, but one thing I do want to touch about, we talk about duos, let's talk about both the link-up between Miru and Shock. Shock, his last 3 games, Miru, whose last 3 games have been the Lee Sin. He's looked so damn impressive on every single performance so far, and his coordination and link-up with Shock has managed to accrue him such a big lead to get in the mid laner online so early on.
Yeah, a lot of mid-focus. Very different from the Direwolves, right? A lot of their look-ins were towards top lane from Mir in the first split. So to see a lot of focus going towards Shock, who again, just so incredibly consistent, is very good to see and very rewarding, clearly, for the side of the Direwolves, and it's not going to be the Orianna carry for Shock this time around, but he does snag that Syndra away from Claire and is still definitely a champion and a matchup that you could consider camping again.
Wukong and Ornn, both champions that Chippies and Tien, very familiar with, very comfortable on. Not going to be chosen here today. If we're going to get ourselves the Nautilus, it becomes, you want to say, apparent that that is going to be the Fasting Center bot lane duo. A pick that Draku has become more and more comfortable on as the weeks go by.
Yeah, definitely would expect that to be a farming Nautilus if they do lock in the center. Of course, at the same time, it can actually just be a farming center with a Nautilus support. I love the variability in that. We'll wait to see, of course, what the last pick is. It's Draku hovering, so we'll wait for the actual champions. And on the other side, Direwolves, they've gone for the Bard, so a bit of extra mid-range for their composition in terms of engage tools to go with the Ashe in that bottom lane. Ashe, obviously a very strong champion and can hold her own in the 1v1, so they picked the Bard to be a bit more variable around the map and really open themselves up for whatever they would like as a 5th pick. They've got good mixed damage, they've got engage, they've got a decent teamfight composition if they wanted, or they could make sure that the Volibear is going top lane, hard counter it if they wanted. Champions like Kayle perhaps could exist in this. Come for the Direwolves.
The hovering the Scion.
The anti-Kayle. They've gone all in on the team fighting skivvy, so they've made their decision that they want Chippies to be grouped with the team.
I think everyone wants a little bit of taste of the Swiper success when it comes to playing that Scion right now. There's another top laner that is bringing it to the forefront. We'll see if they can find the ranged, the hard engagement as a result of that one. 10-14, slight buff here to Sejuani. That's what Croc is going to opt into. Going to be a tanky jungler, so going to hope that he does not get bullied out of his jungle very early on by the likes of this informed Miru Lee Sin.
Yeah, Chiefs are, I would say, very notorious. They love to pick a lot of tanks. They often drafted compositions, and it's interesting because Vital even mentioned this in that pre-talk video. I'd love to see like a Katsuri Kai'Sa or something of the like. This is the type of composition where you'd be pretty happy with the Kai'Sa, right? You've got a bunch of crowd control to apply the plasma stacks, really get into the mix, but it's a Senna who isn't, the highest DPS champion, especially in the fasting builds. And you'd have to probably go the lethality variant to really stay in this one. So a lot of this is about either getting an early lead or having Claire just pop off. And we know the Direwolves play a lot around mid lane, so this could be decided very early.
And that's why I think it's so interesting, right? Is you're looking at comforts for the 3 major inform carries between Vital, Shock, and Miru. They've played these picks for the most part of the last 3 games, as I said. You're looking to try and target Claire, who's in really, really hot form himself, but then being forced onto the Azir to try and slow down the tempo and try and play the more scaling-oriented style of gameplay. I get terrified that, if they can bully and expose this fasting center lane again, which is a pick or a style that Chiefs more than any team really like to cater towards, that Direwolves can run away with this one.
Yeah, I think a lot of this for Direwolves is actually, it's almost entirely dependent on their own individual abilities to use big spells. So you've got a Scion ultimate that can start chugging down lanes. You've got a big Bard ultimate possibly used there as well. And if those go well, then I think things look really good for the Direwolves. And when we're looking at the early pathing as well, if the Lee Sin gets any kind of lead over this Sejuani, becomes a much better experience for Direwolves overall. Where for the Chiefs, again, get an early lead if you can. You've got a Volibear into a Scion matchup up here. You should have a pretty good time on this side of the map. You've got melee champions in top lane and bot lane with a Nautilus. So a lot of CC can be applied for this Sejuani. So there's a couple of avenues of attack here. And the only concern with that is you don't want to isolate mid. And you don't have a cleanse opponent. So Chiefs, I think, actually have a lot of good options, especially at level 6.
You're going to have to hope that the road to level 6 does not get disrupted too much. As I mentioned, Miru has been in such solid form so far, being able to get these kills. They have a 100% collection rate on the first Herald in the last 5 games, and they're the team with the highest gold difference at the 15-minute mark, sitting above their opponents, usually around the 2,500 gold state, which is a ton of gold, a major item at the very least, completed. So Chiefs are going to be hoping that they can try and slow down the crazy early game that Direwolves look to achieve, and play for those 2-item spikes.
Definitely a good way to attack this one. Wouldn't be too dismayed by the composition to play towards that as well. Probably not going to see anything similar to Legacy from that last game as well for those at home. Chiefs do have a tendency to be much more forward and aggressive, particularly if they get a sniff of an opportunity. So you might see some passive cerebral play from the Chiefs, but set them off and they will absolutely continue to push forwards, as early game all about getting that wave control.
Certainly is, and I'm glad you mentioned that point, right? Because Chiefs, they are a team that present so many carries. Essentially, every single player on this team wants to carry in their own right, and despite not being on, your bruisers like the Fioras and the Camilles and the Kalis and whatnot, they still have engage. They still have serious wombo combo, and true to their name, if they find that moment in the match where they can also try and connect, they'll punish you. As we see a little bit of a nice trade work in their favor bot side.
Yeah, and speaking of bot side, we have to look at who's farming in this one. And I don't want to say it's too surprising. Katsuri is actually going to be the one hard farming this lane out. So Draku is playing dedicated support Nautilus. No fasting to be seen this time around. And it is also the Glacial Augment build for Katsuri. So he has committed himself to a much more lethality-based damage type build. In terms of armor builders on the opposing side, it really is mainly chippies. You'll get your Zonias perhaps there for Shock in mid lane, maybe a small amount of armor as well for Decoy. So he's still going to be doing a decent amount of damage, and that's really important. If he's not there to consistently apply damage, Chiefs are a 1 carry comp. They definitely need Katsura to be online.
Yeah, certainly do. As you mentioned, the lethality build, giving you the Umbra Glaive power spike to start things off with, the ability to control that vision, which could be very important in forcing these fights and getting the rotations in their favor. Grasp, obviously another build that we tend to see, but not going to be the case here. Croc's going to rock the top lane and say hello. Drops down a ward as Chippy says, I don't want any of this. Out goes the Permafrost, and out goes the damage. A flash, a kill, and a first blood going for the Chiefs.
Yeah, real easy there from Croc. He's going to be able to just net himself the kill. Under turret, gets smacked 3 times, was 1 away from dying. No idea why he turned there, but will survive. And a nice little first blood into the bank of a Croc. Easy as you'd like.
That's so good, as a Sejuani especially, to get a kill before the level 6 mark. And to put Miru as a Lee Sin in a situation as to how's this happened.
And Chippy's in the pre-game video was like, yeah, the top lane matchup last time we played was pretty rough. It was, gangplank against Rek'Sai, as Croc just didn't stop camping me. Well, welcome back to the same game, Chippies. You try and get a ward in the tri-bush, and it's too late. He's already on top of you.
Yep, he's going to have fun with that 2v1 once again. Going to help to try and get these guys online. Not much power at this stage in the bottom lane. A lot of passive damage, but Croc has been very present so far. He's got his vision around the bot side. Mao looking to try and connect because Senna landed the root. Can he get a magic journey? Flashing forward into it! That's a beautiful interrupt, but Decoy might still just get on out. Croc chases him. The hill comes out. Locked in place. Permafrost flash away. Miru's in the area. It's going to be a 3v3, but Shock's the first one to rotate across. Can they make this a fight? Oh, that's a 3-man stun. Syndra with the orb. Syndra with the CC. Syndra with the kills. They can't run now because that is an Ashe with a volley and a connection, and Miru is angry. Don't gank my lanes. There's a double kill. That's the link up, and that is Shock with a double kill.
Yeah, hyper aggressive from the Chiefs, taking the portal that they were using to get to safety Direwolves, gets into the enemy tri-bush. They even push away the Lee Sin, but at the same time, there was the numbers game in favor of the Direwolves. We'll see this skirmish again because they do hit all of their spells, vital flashes to make sure that he gets out to safety, and Decoy gets cancelled. So that actually blocks all of those Sedge passives, and no health for the Direwolves. But there is already a Syndra just sprinting down here. I think it was a Ghost used or something. Just incredibly fast. Actually walked over a dead Scuttlecrab, which is why Katsuri trying to net a trade just goes super far forwards, and he's just not going to be able to find it. I think he realized there wasn't any disengage. They'd used everything they could to start that off. And so he tried to make the best out of a bad situation, but it did not get better.
It certainly did not. And what looked so good for their, with Chiefs being so present on the map and being so aggressive on all fronts, gets punished and gets punished hard. I don't believe Claire actually had any mana to even interact and even present the opportunity to try and make that a numbers advantage, but yeah.
Yeah, Claire's teleport, I was thinking during the fight, like, where is it? But they didn't have any wards or anything to place for him to even consider teleporting, right? So he didn't actually have a chance to assist his team. It was just doomed the second Shock got there.
Despite a first blood going the way of the Chiefs, Direwolves bite back, and they bite back hard. They get the first dragon as well. That means that the gold will start to favour them. Gold in all the right places, you have to say as well there, Rusty. You get these 2 carries online, Vital and Shock will make you pay.
Yeah, and we already mentioned this through the draft, but it did feel like a lot of this game will be dictated, at least the pace of the game and how it snowballs will be determined through early game. And now that you've got a decent, sizable lead in mid lane from just those kills alone, becomes a lot harder to beat. Claire has gone for the Null Magic Mantle very early here as well, so is building just to survive his laning phase. Whereas Shock, you would expect, given that he got a very easy Lost Chapter purchase, will just be able to sustain himself in lane very easily, honestly, where that was one of the nerfs that Syndra copped, right? The mana cost on the Q was almost doubled, I think. Makes things a lot harder, but not anymore. He's going to have a very good time. Lots of priority in mid lane and ability to continue to help me.
Absolutely. I mean, as you say, that cost is going to be negated so much just by that one item purchase alone. That's going to work wonders to continue to find priority in that lane to assist and control what these objectives on the map could be. 8 minutes on the clock. I mentioned before, Direwolves have one of the most impressive rates as to controlling the first Heralds, given the current state of things. You have to imagine that it could be favouring them again. Shock also has a blue buff there in mind, so those kind of problems, they just do not exist at this stage.
Xian just having a quick look and decides it is not the right decision, and he's absolutely correct, as there was a Lee Sin hovering, and that does actually indicate that the lane swap has been fully implemented here. So you'd be expecting Tian to make his way to bot lane. He's now going to get a wriggle on. The sirens go off, he's going to queue his way through mid lane. So this map flip, usually going to be around the Rift Herald. And Dial's got there significantly faster. Dragku caught as well.
He's in a whole bunch of trouble. Ooh, disengages away and does not get hit by the arrow, but it does not change the outcome. Caught looking to plant down some vision and pays the price of his life.
Yeah, and that's real bad from Dragku, if we're being honest. You look at the state of the game, right? Tian's visibly crossed through mid lane, so they don't have any priority in the topside jungle. Croc was in base, so he was by himself and just on a solo warding mission gets punished for it, rightly so. It's a good punish from Direwolves, but definitely out of position there as teleports are coming in.
Yeah, Chiefs are looking like they want to try and contest this one. As you can see, 2 teleports being burnt. Both Clear and Tien getting into the fold of things. That's going to cancel out the Herald for the meantime. Now they found a pick. They're going to try and go in towards Shock. He's got a bounty. That's a big shutdown going the way of Clear. That's going to help him twofold. And if they can pick up this Herald as well, they can bridge this gold gap and take control of the game once more.
Yeah, Shock's flashed in that situation. It looked like a really good swoop from Claire to actually lock him down, so they will net themselves the kill. 500 gold and a Herald. Turning around what was a bad situation into something brilliant for the side of the Chiefs. You know, that's something the class of this roster can do. As Shock found himself very much caught out of position.
That's a big win for the Chiefs. They invest a double teleport, but they pay big time. And as you can see there, despite the gold still being down 1k, that Herald is going to negate that completely. And the volatile matchup of the mid lane, given a state of things where Claire has been so impressive, it's going to work wonders for him to reach that point in the game where Nazir can take control of things.
He might even be rushing the Banshee's Veil, perhaps, in mid lane. It does make things a little bit more difficult for the Syndra to try and find stuns if Azir is able to maintain his range. We'll see. We'll see. What it does mean, though, is no one mid laner is just massively ahead of the other one, barring item spike timing. Which is really interesting, because the state of this game then becomes wherever the mid laners go, they could be a raid boss, right? They're going to one-tap everyone. They're super scary. You have to respect them.
Yeah.
But they may not be able to do that to each other. So a lot of like mid lane rotations then become the most important thing. It's saying that, I think it is still worth pointing out that Shock is farming on the clock at 10 minutes and does have an extra kill, so definitely still has the gold lead.
He certainly does. A lot of that in part to the early Lost Chapter and the blue buff he received, whilst Claire did not have that kind of luxury afforded to him. But he will now. Just a question, will they now, based on the success of that previous fight, gear up for the second Dragon contest. We're seeing them right now posturing for that one. Chippies will have the advantage of being able to teleport in from the top side, whereas Tien is forced to run, as you can see him doing so on the minimap now.
Very early priority given towards the Direwolves. Numbers advantage, as you highlight, is about to cross back over the other way. So the Chiefs have a choice on if they want to clear the vision out, or if they want to actually establish some vision control at the Drake itself. Still very, very early on into this one, so not a lot of control wards readily available. Only the one sweeper that is on cooldown for Dragku, so vision still definitely a delicate thing. Does mean teleport flanks are available for Direwolves is the main point. They wish to.
We've seen the starts of a Manamune coming out here from Katsuri Center as well. Not opting for the locality just yet. That's going to be the cross-map ultimate here from Chippy. He's a three-man tempered fate. Can they find a fight? Can they get a steal? Can they get the Dragon? The Dragon's a distant afterward at this stage. It gets stolen. Direwolves pick it up. Can they find some kills as well? Stormbringer into the backline as they execute the Lee Sin. Now Tien getting run down by an Ashe. One knockup from Messiah will guarantee it. As the map becomes a light. An Infernal Soul is what we're playing for. Fitting for the explosive nature of these two teams. They win the Dragon, they win the fights, and they win control of this map.
And that's the thing. Chiefs, they put themselves inside the Drake pit, maybe thinking they'll be able to disengage after they secure it. They've got a couple of dashes, they don't have many. And then Bard hits an ultimate into a Syndra stun onto all three of them. And they just don't get to play League of Legends. Claire tries to swoop Shock in, but misses the ultimate. Mir's just trying his best to disengage and buys enough time that Vital's able to get the damage down and secure a kill on Tien there as well. I mean, it was a close fight in the end, considering how well that started for the Direwolves and how hard they caught the Chiefs out.
More kills, and once again, it is the Direwolves carries that are there to finish the job and pick up the killing blow. More gold in their arsenal once again. Puts another bounty on their head. That's going to be enough for Vital to hit a major power spike over their opponents.
Monster.
He's got the Bladed Rune King at only 13 minutes in. The question is now, what can Chiefs do to match with this? They're going to summon the Herald top sides. Going to look to try and get as many plates as they can before it expires. And, well, Shelly got a bit confused.
Yeah,
won't do much.
Protect it. So they had very different lane assignments to the side of the Direwolves, right? Decoy in the area, so you'd suspect that Vital was nearby. They were correct. So they were able to clear the Herald, where it was just the top laner and jungler of the Chiefs on that side of the map. Chippy's currently smacking bot lane turret as well. And the real winner of the last couple of minutes has been Chippy's. He was so far behind in terms of farm and control of the game. You know, there was a lot of threat under turret for him at one point, but now he's able to, you know, break some structures in bot side, or at least get some damage down. He's caught up in farm. He's sitting pretty.
I mean, he certainly is, right? He was down, 20 CS, I believe you mentioned. Doesn't have to burn the ultimate. Can literally drift from top lane all the way through to Dragon. And they get to retain their macro control pressure.
It's all about the deploy, which is a very interesting thing to say that was the difference maker, but Direwolves just placing their bot lane in the correct place at the correct time nets them those small leads as Katsuri.
Oh! Fantastic performance there from Katsuri to evade all the CC coming his way. 3 key targets ready to roundhouse them into the team. Guarantee the Enchanted Arrow would have connected. Katsuri, far too disciplined, far too good. Won't fall down today.
Yeah, great flash. Ensuring his safety, albeit barely. He does still get himself out with all of his health as well. So now you know that the Chiefs may want to even consider defending this one. Even a chunk out could have been valuable for the Direwolves for really hard committing to a push up here. You've got a Syndra in the area as well, so they may consider this one. Chip is with the teleport available. I don't think that's the hill that Direwolves will choose to die on. You need to play this game slowly, because if no one goes to bottom lane, then they don't need to make a play, right? They'll wait for the volley bear to show bottom, and then you'll most likely see Chippies after this wave disengage, has the teleport, will probably be in base by the time that comes out as well if they wanted to really threaten something.
See how they decide to gear up for this one here, Rusty. Shock's going to TP back to the mid-wave. And Croc's going to gain control of the vision by picking up the scuttle surrounding the Herald. The second Herald of the game. This one, you'd hope, can find a little bit more success.
Chippy's going through mid right now as well, so not situating himself in bottom lane at all does mean that they want to commit themselves to this Herald. Volibear is walking up here. Maybe force a teleport if the Chiefs are going to choose to contest this one, which they may. He has a Trinity Force spike, so this Volibear is actually very big if they get in here.
Worth mentioning that Direwolves have all of their flashes available, whereas Chiefs are missing 3 of them. Going to sacrifice the Herald. The second one goes in the way of Direwolves. 30 seconds on the third
enough
of the
time.
game. Good reset.
Managed to get themselves out. Another deep play just in time. They won't have full vision set up by any means around the Drake as it spawns, but now that they've got the first 2, even though they stole that second one, does actually make things a bit more stressful for the Chiefs. Have to answer in the area. They're currently waiting for a pick. And once again, Chippy's walking his way down is the thing that the Direwolves will most likely be waiting for, as well as a Hawk Shot, always available for the Ashe.
It's going to be the classic play we tend to see, especially when a Dragon is spawning, summoning the Herald mid and saying, what's your play? What's your response? Do you answer this? Or do you look to continue your control of the Dragon pit? The headbutt's going to connect. That's going to do a ton of sticking damage towards that mid turret. Gives the invitation for Direwolves to walk on in and assert their own control. As they find their target, it's going to be Tranku, and he gets deleted. He's going to use that stopwatch and actually keeps him alive for a lot longer than he would have hoped for. That's a shutdown. They're taking out 2. Both Lee Sin and Ashe are gone. This is a big win for Chiefs. All started here by Tranku baiting out so much attention his way. And that's just what the Doctor ordered. That's just what Chiefs needed to regain control. They're going to get themselves a Dragon on the board. That's going to work wonders to give Katsuri some items, some money, some more lethality.
And that's the thing, right? We've got a timing in this game where there's a bunch of tanks. They've definitely set themselves up, Chiefs, to look at some mid-game skirmishes and really feel they're strongest around that time period. You've got Dragu that goes in. Yes, he gets chunked out, but Croc's on the flank and on the bot side flank as well. This pincer move comes in. A brilliant Sejuani ultimate, first and foremost, hitting basically everyone on the Direwolves. And they congest themselves, and they make this really easy for the Chiefs' composition to just hit it home. Claire, during all of this as well, is going to be left completely untouched on his first item spike, and really well played from the Chiefs, but super easy execution as well.
It looks so easy, as you say. You know, the initiation that started off with Croc, but then the Emperor's Divide that split that fight in half and meant that Shock was divided from his team, unable to really do much, wasn't even able to use his ultimate, and he's a big deal at this stage, sitting 4-1, well on his way to an early 20-minute Rabadon scap. But watched his team crumble around him.
There's the difference between teamfight positioning as well. If you're Syndra, you definitely want to find a position to use your ultimate on a carry. Easier said than done when you're fighting in choke points with 2 tanks dashing and jumping at you, though. Always going to be something you have to measure when it comes to these fights around objectives. The way that it's currently playing out, the one real... Hold that thought. What on earth? What was all of that?
Well, he headbutt a wall. That's an angry bee emote. I've seen one.
It's always funny. Oh no, do we have to wait again? No, we're good. It's always funny when a Scion ults and yells cowards and just headbutts a wall. Like, it really makes you feel like he's a bit of an ogre running around.
Definitely not Shrek. He's not cute and cuddly. He gets the job done, though. And you mentioned it was going to be, a battle of the mid laners. It certainly seems to be the case so far. These previous skirmishes have, in most, been determined by their influence to dictate if they can find a pick or get a ton of damage to layer down.
Yeah, the other place of priority is actually the top lane for the Chiefs. After that last little skirmish, has found himself 2-1-3. He's going to be an absolute unit, and he's going up against an Ashe, right? So mid lane is huge. Item spike starting to come across here as well for Shock, and shouldn't be too far away from Claire. He's still pretty far behind, honestly, in terms of CS. But if an Ashe can deal with a Volibear, that's a pretty big difference maker. And the thing with these top laners, Skibby, is they're not farming. Not much at all. They're spending more time grouping with the team, making rotations around the map than they are staying in lanes and threatening teleports. And that's really starting to add up.
I mean, you can see it there from the scoreboard, right? Croc is ahead of his solo lane. Make sure that they have a big unit in the Sejuani to find those engagements. One thing that actually caught my eye that I'll talk on is the Mikhail's Crucible Rush here from Decoy. Given the fact that Vital hasn't gone for the cleanse, going to be very important to make sure, given that he has no mobility, he won't, fall victim to the diving attempts that Chief showcased in that previous Dragon fight.
Vital nor Shock, right? And a lot of the crowd controls, basically you're getting it for Croc, right? You're getting it for the Sejuani just throwing those ultimates in from long range. And if we start to hit objective-based team fighting, where a lot of the game just becomes an ARAM, you'll probably have decoy in proximity of both carries. So that's a pretty good Mikhail's Crucible to rush to make sure that your team doesn't just consistently get picked off every time a Sejuani has an ultimate. And that enables players like Shock to keep that teleport, to still be able to threaten inside lanes and put in the work instead of needing like a cleanse against an Azir. Which is not ideal.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. Now we start to see the power spikes come online for Vital. He's got himself that 2-item. So does Shock. Small advantage they'll have over their counterparts in the Chiefs. 60 seconds on the next Dragon.
Yeah, we're playing the game around Drakes right now. There is going to be a point eventually where the game will move towards the Baron Pit also, but mid lane outer turrets are still standing after 2 Heralds were taken. So this game is not really being played in mid lane. It's just so easy for both teams to use that as a pivot point. Really, we've got our anchors in mid. We're moving to the Drake. We're moving to the Baron. Until something breaks or a team fight goes incredibly one way and you can take those turrets for free, this is the way that it'll continue.
You can see them all converge on mid lane now, realizing how important it is to take those small margins which just buff them and grant them just a little bit of extra power. Maybe swing the fight in their favor. Katsuri still working on evolving that Mananion. The easiest job to do on a Senna.
I think the Chiefs definitely want Direwolves to come towards them as well. If you're walking into an Azir and a Senna, you're going to be doing a pretty tough go at it to try and stay in that type of team fight.
Yeah.
Sejuani then gets free opportunities as well. The Direwolves now going to play this one out where the Chiefs may have to come towards them if they keep control of this Drake. Grouping up like they are again is so risky for a Sedge ultimate.
There it is. It's going to land on the chimney. He's not going to be minding that one too much. They're going to secure themselves the Dragon. There's so much wombo combo. The Bruiser boys get rowdy about it. That's a 2-man smackdown Raw as Tien gets himself a double kill. Yes, you've got the Dragon. Yes, you put yourself on a soul point, but we want to take your carries. They finally secure it. One final blow was all they needed. The Flashes are securing it, and it's an absolute fiesta on the Rift. The Empress Divide prevents Vital from joining his teammates and providing protection to the Afterlife clone of a Scion. He's the only one left surviving here, and there are healthy members of the Chiefs ready to take him down. A crushing defeat in terms of the Dragon, but a big win from the teamfight aspect.
I mean, it's just a bunch of beefsty boys running down the Direwolves. They lose so much of their health trying to actually stay in the fight and contest for this Drake. So Sejuani will throw the ultimate. Draco hits a nice hook as well, so lots of health gone from Mir. Even though the Bard ultimate is good, it's not going to stop Tien. So again, the tanks come in, and Vital does as much damage as he can. Let's preface all of this with that. Croc, super lucky to get this kill, by the way, because the auto was in mid-air. And Vital actually takes out Claire here with a nice little flash over the Emperor's Divide. Vital playing incredibly well through that fight. It is worth highlighting, as the Chiefs still win the fight. But not the Drake, right?
Not the Drake. It's like a little tidbit, like a PS, not the Drake.
Soul Point.
Soul Point is a big one to talk about, as Direwolves have definitely been having their priority focused on that. There's been 2 different fights now where Croc has been far more invested in the CC layering that his team present. And has been obviously very successful in what it's presented us with so far. Tien, strong sticking power onto the Ashe, and with a Frozen Heart as well. Just going to make his life just that much worse.
And Croc's gone for the Warmogs build, which usually I look at a Warmogs style build and it's like, well, 1, my opponents have poke, so I need to stand in front of my team. That's a possible option. 2 is we're going to use the Baron as a pivot tool, so we have the Warmogs to just be able to infinitely tank it. And I do feel like it is going to be primarily the latter. There's no poke from the side of the Direwolves is the main purpose there. They have engage or nothing. And other items may have been more valuable in certain circumstances. Like if you're just going to be team fighting, then you want your Stone Plate as soon as possible. That doesn't seem to be the way that he's going to go here. And once you go for the Warmogs, you're committed to a little bit more health in that build.
The ability to jump into that fight, not get punished as hard. Tempered Fate goes out, but it won't catch Katsuri because he'll just use the mist to evade that one. He's now got the evolution. He's sitting on 50 stacks of his passive too. Starting to ramp up with the extra range it provides, as well as the critical strike chance.
They're using Bard ultimate as an engage tool. Croc's just having a go at it elsewhere. They're using Bard as the engage tool instead of the Ash arrows, which I find very interesting. It feels a little bit more telegraphed when you're using a Bard ulti. A little bit easier to dodge, to be honest, as well. Nevertheless, they still have an Ash arrow, even though the Bard one isn't there. So they still have engage. They're just not really being able to find it.
Yeah, Chief's done a fantastic job of navigating this part of the match and not granting Direwolves these continued opportunities to find picks. Buying themselves enough time to hit those 2-item spikes, which we can now start to see come online. You mentioned whether or not it would be a Banshee's Veil here from Claire. It is. We can see that now. And they're going to look to try and even out the structural disadvantage by taking another turret topside.
Yeah, it delays a little bit of the damage output that Claire will be able to provide, but it means that he can deal damage more safely. And I think that's super valuable. Even though he's got all of the tanks standing in front of him, there is still a lot to deal with on the opposing side where the Banshees just kind of dissuades their opponents from the get-go. But once he hits his third item, I think that's when the Chiefs will be closer to their strongest. You've got a similar thing as well here happening for Katsuri. He's got his Muramana now upgraded from the Manamune. And once he has Edge of Night completed as well, it's just completely dissuades any kind of engage from Direwolves, makes life difficult. No Ash arrows can just go flying. No Bard ultis can go flying then. And their engage tools are almost completely gone. I think that's when Chiefs just look at the map and say, we have control. In saying that, Skibby, in 30 seconds, they don't have much of a choice.
Certainly don't. And Vital is sitting at peak power. 4-1-4. He's just gone back and picked up the Infinity Edge. If he can get some uptime, they will win the fight. But in saying that, Chiefs between both Sejuani and the Volibear are ensuring that there is one target in mind, and it is him.
Sejuani's still playing on the top side of the map with Drake up in 8 seconds. While the rest of his team is on the bottom side. They know he's there. They've been throwing spells at him. Once again, Direwolves. The Chiefs want them to come towards their front line so they can get those free engages off. No heralds to summon, no dissuasions, no distractions this time. It's just going to be the Infernal Drake. If the Direwolves want that soul point, they're going to have to walk into the belly of the beast. Try and win a team fight.
Certainly are. As you can see, the fight is going to start. Direwolves do have stopwatches, both their jungler and their ADC. That could be vital in turning things around, no pun intended, but the fight will ensue. Chiefs are pulling them out of this river, turning out all the vision that Direwolves had looked to try and achieve. The delicacy of the situation, you can feel it.
Oh, Sejuani.
Sejuani out goes to Glacial Prison. Not going to meet its mark right now, but that is shock separated from the team. Going to receive the depth charge. And there's a blast going to try and get himself out of harm's way. Volibear is gone. That is the shutdown. Chippies finds his number and finds his match. They take him on down, and Vital afforded all the space in the world. We mentioned it, with those items, he can output big, big numbers, and that's going to guarantee even bigger with the Infernal Soul now in their back pocket.
That was messy. That was a very messy. They just kind of gave away the Infernal Soul. At a certain point, when you're flanking so hard, you're no longer flanking. And that was pretty easy just to walk away, disengage if you're the Direwolves, play around your Ash. And eventually they found themselves the first pick. Tien goes down, and here we go. Baron already well below half HP. Chiefs trying to contest.
Claire still has the Emperor's Divide if he can find a moment to execute upon. Croc just does not lose those. Croc steals the Baron. He's delayed the game just a little bit longer. You're not going to get both buffs. There is no luxury on the plate here today. He falls for it, but he grants the team the buff.
The absolute alpha just goes into the pit, knows that he's going to die for it. They've got a Lee Sin kick to knock him away potentially. They've got the Syndra stun to stop him from dashing it as well. Gone. No chance of being able to stop the Croc from coming in there. Very easy Baron steal from him in the end. Get himself into the pit.
So interesting given how the state of the game was, where he was sacrificing all these dragons. And when it mattered, and when all the conditions were against him, he just walks into the pit, says thank you very much, and is able to stall this game out just a little bit longer. What does that mean in the grand scheme of things? Well, Chiefs will have a few more items now they can look to try and itemize in towards. We've seen the third Lefella item start to be built here by Katsuri Senna. As you mentioned earlier, it's going to work wonders if they can get some serious uptime to buff up the rest of the team.
This next fight, whenever it does come about, I think one of the most important things to highlight is that Shock does not have his flash, and he currently does not have a Zonya's Banshees or Stopwatch type item in his items either. Very fragile then. Needs to play perfectly if they want to have a chance in the fight. While eyes are going towards Vital right now. 6-1 and 5 on this Ashe, working towards his respective items. A free engage onto someone like Shock does make the rest of the team fight much more simple. The side of the Chiefs, they do get their third item spikes here. That death cap, huge for Claire. Not just a defensive Azir anymore.
It certainly will be. You know, to use it Emperor's Divide in that previous fight. But we know how strong it can be when used well. He's one of the players in the OPL that is well renowned for this pick. So how can they look to try and combat Infernal Soul versus Baron buff? They plant the Azir turret mid, and they rotate to a prep wave bottom sides. Worth noting, both stopwatches did not have to be used there by the members of the Direwolves.
Yeah, still going to have those available. Would be very handy, but there's not a whole lot to be done on the map right now. Generally, it's just going to be the Chiefs using the Baron, try and break down some structures if they can. Direwolves going to find their first opportunity, at least to push out a bit more. The Infernal Soul is not going to be super useful for, you know, it's not going to be like an Ezreal throwing Qs out there just to chunk health bars down, whittle down the health of their opponents. So it is still going to be very valuable. It's very big to have that soul, but not as simple as the Direwolves would have otherwise liked. They just have to buy some time for the moment.
All eyes continue when it comes to the farm. Vital continues his 10 CS per minute. It's one of the stats that he's actually retained all split long. One of the highest carries next to Raze in that regard. Really recaptured that form that made him such a threat in split 1.
This is one of those steals that now you really look at the state of this game, you would say probably kept the Chiefs well in it. They just lost an Infernal Soul, they lost some members, they were going to lose potentially more at the Baron as well, contesting at the first place. If that went Direwolves' way, the amount of control they could have had over the map would have been huge. But now they're stuck on their own side, their own half of the map. Chiefs feel like they have more control.
Baron buff working wonders there to stabilize and give them a bit of breathing room. 33 minutes in, we're going to find them with a small gold lead at this stage. Not by much, but enough to showcase that they are still in with a very big possibility of turning this game around despite the Infernal Soul that favours the Direwolves. Big objectives coming up in just under 90 seconds. An Elder to play for. All eyes will then turn to the junglers, who has the steady hands and the nerves to connect and smite well.
Yeah, Elder's going to be a big point. Now, the most important things to discuss before the Elder fight happens is that flashes are going to be available for all summoners as well. The one exception is potentially Croc. He'll be pretty close though, so it'll be up very soon either way. So everything, literally everything is going to be available here for all 10 members on Summoner's Rift. Stopwatch picked up for Shock here as well. The one big thing you might have said was missing. So everyone fully equipped. Comes down to how they set up, comes down to execution. Right now the Direwolves are saying we don't need to look at the Drake yet. We've got 30 seconds. Let's play around our mid lane and see if we can bring them to us and force that control.
Would have loved to have found a kill before this one started. 5 stopwatches, 3 on the Direwolves, 2 on the Chiefs. It's going to be Chippies that gets engaged upon right now. Miro jumps on in, uses the kick very early on. Depth charge goes out, but all the aggression favours Draku. He's forced to burn the stone plate as his health bar drops to 50%. A little cheeky tease before the fight properly ensues around this Elder.
Yeah, no summoner spells used, but a redemption was, a stone plate was. That sounded like a Sejuani was looking there, but they're actually going to kick off this Elder. This is already down to half HP. Chiefs going to have to move a little bit faster to get in here.
They shred it. Your eyes on Croc, where's the ultimate go out? Facial prison on towards Miro. He's in a whole bunch of trouble right now. Tien hits the backline, looking for a slam dunk down. Can he try and find it? A free man there. Emperor's Divide is huge. Decoy flashes on out. He survives for the meantime. Gets through, takes no shot.
Mirror in trouble, forced to try and dash away, but he's waiting for that safeguard to come back online. All eyes go to Vital. Can you protect him? He falls on down. Shut down galore. Everything goes blue as Chiefs, fitting to their colours, take full control of the map. That's a triple kill for the big man. King Robert grants them the ace and the Elder buff.
Yeah, they should just be able to push down mid to end with this as well. They've got a whole lot of time to back them up. Chiefs, they bring it down to one moment. Direwolves are the ones who actually kick off the objective as well and say, come to us. But a massive flank from TN. Massive positioning there from the Chiefs, as well as Claire getting into the back line with an Emperor's Divide. And that'll be more than enough to net them this victory.
What a huge performance. We mentioned how critical Dragons were for this matchup in particular. It's where the most actions happen. It's where the most chaos has happened. And just like that, despite everything being favoured towards the Direwolves, the Chiefs come back with a vengeance. They're going for the game-winning play, and they will tie themselves at third spot.
And you can't help but feel like watching that game, you know, Direwolves, they had a real chance. They had a Baron that was taken away from them. They had an Infernal Soul during this as well, but it wasn't enough to net them the victory. As the Chiefs, once again, when it comes crunch time and you have these really hectic moments and fights that come about, they seem to find a sense of calm in that. You know, they still get themselves the flanks that they need in these hectic, chaotic moments where they're being forced around. So, brilliant stuff from the Chiefs.
Certainly was, and just, you know, the lockdown that those bruises provided just made the carry's job so hard to try and execute upon. We were talking about how early both Shock and Vital got online with their builds and how strong they were in comparison, but never really got that chance to really bridge the gap. As you mentioned, I believe beautifully, was just that flank from Tien to lock them all in place. If that was enough, the Emperor's Divide on top of that as well. So, damage versus CC, control favour the Chiefs, and that is a victory they'll be very happy with to bounce back into winning ways. We're going to jump to a quick break before we get ourselves geared up for the final game of the night. It's going to be Pensnet.gg taking on Gravitas.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits, so hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
He's got it! This is deadly! He's got it!
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.